Welcome to today's class. Today we shall discuss chapter 10 of the novel The Distant Window. In chapter 9 we discussed that the Sahib was going somewhere. On the way he came across Parvati's house. He had some kind of a discussion with her. Her husband was hiding behind a tree and overhearing their conversation. He was extremely suspicious. He thought the Sahib had some clandestine, some secret relationship with his wife. So he was watching from a distance. Now the Sahib goes away. So as the dust raised by the car subsided, just as the car moved away, the dust subsided, dust decreased. Nando dust settled. Nando emerged from behind a tree. He was hiding behind a tree, overhearing their conversation. What conversation? The Sahab was such a high level official. So, what conversation a high level officer of the department was having with the wife of a low level official. So, he was suspicious because of that. So, now the dust settles down just as the Sahab's car goes away. She knew that he was going to take her to task. So, she kept waiting for him to come. Parvati knew that her husband would be extremely angry with her. She knew that her husband was going to punish her. Therefore, instead of going back home, she was standing outside. She was waiting for her husband to come from behind the tree. He was hiding behind the tree from there to come to her. In the tender, faint moonlight of the Shukla Paks, his harshness and crudeness became less visible. So it was evening time. There was a faint moon in the sky. So his harshness was not visible from a distance. That he was very harsh, that he was not tender, he was very angry. This was not visible. His harsh and crude face were not clearly visible. Obviously, this was evening time. However, all his harshness had been transferred to his voice. So when he came to Parvati, when he reached Parvati, where Parvati was standing, obviously he was very angry. So his voice reflected his anger, even though anger was not reflected on the face because face was not clearly visible in the moonlight. His anger was reflected in his voice. He caught hold of Parvati's hair and said, "Oh, what cozy companionship! Oh, a very cozy is comfortable. Companionship is friendship. Oh, how come you are so friendly with the Sahib?" Right? So, what cozy companionship you have, what great friendship you have. What were you talking? Whispering all the while. So, there is a sense of doubt that clouds his mind, that covers his mind. So he says, "Oh, what were you discussing with the Sahib?" "Now, don't spoil my hair," said Parvati, pushed her husband's hand from her hair and tried to fix it. "Do it again." She further asks, "Why are you home early today? Why have you come back so early? Oh, you want to keep an eye on me." So you were suspicious. Therefore, you want to keep an eye on me, to keep a watch on me. So perhaps you want to keep a watch and therefore you have come back early. Don't be smart. Do you think I don't understand anything? Who says this? Nando says this. He further threatens her, saying, "Don't make me lose my temper. I warn you. I will settle you tonight. I will teach you a lesson." Right? So come into the house. I will teach you a lesson. I will beat you today. I'll beat you mercilessly and teach you a lesson. Nando was perennially tortured by suspicion towards his young, beautiful wife. His wife was young and beautiful, and he himself was old. He knew that his marriage to his wife was a combination of two different people, people with different characteristics. He was harsh and old, whereas his wife was tender and beautiful. So it was a union of two minds, no doubt, but these minds didn't match. So he regularly threatened his wife as he came home late after fulfilling his greed for the overtime wages and his addiction to liquor. So he was also a person who was addicted to liquor. Liquor is wine. He drank wine. So he would be working for a long time in the office because he was greedy. He was greedy for money. It's quite natural. A poor person is greedy for money. If there is a possibility of earning some more money, then there is nothing wrong in that. So he comes back home almost uh, late every day because of these things. And then he's addicted to liquor. He drinks wine. But today he decided the appropriate medicine would be to give her a sound thrashing, sound beating. So he decided the best thing would be on his part to give her a sound thrashing, a sound beating. Parvati got in and forthwith bared his back. So this beating happened almost regularly. This was something that took place regularly. So Parvati went inside, took the cloth off her back. Oh, you want to beat me? Beat me. Okay. So she stood boldly in front of Nandu, inviting his blows. If you want to beat me, beat me. Nandu, blind with rage, anger, gave her on the back a sharp blow with his fist. He continued accusing her all the while. You dare play the fool with me all the time? What were you conspiring with Mukherjee Sahib all the while? So it's quite natural. You know, such a big officer talking to a peon's wife, a Group D employee's wife. It was not acceptable, right? It would make somebody obviously very suspicious. So he was suspicious and he accused her. What were you talking? What were you doing? What was he doing here in front of our house? And he gave her a few blows on her back. An angry Parvati blotted out, spoke out, whatever we were talking about cannot be discussed with you. It is confidential. Now, Parvati, we have also discussed in the earlier chapters that Parvati is in the habit of making fun of her husband or testing the patience of her husband, right? So, she says, no, no, we were whispering something. It's true that we were whispering something. Whispering is talking in a low voice. So we were talking in a low voice. It's true, but this can't be disclosed to you. I can't tell you what we were discussing. This is between me and Mukherjee side. Then Nandu continues threatening her. I will kill you one day. Answer me straight. My question is straight. So I am putting a straight question. Answer me straight. Instead, you were playing mischief with me. You were trying to cheat me. You cheat, you bloody fool. You know. So this is how he gets angry with her. She continues speaking in an angry tone. Do you think I am still alive? I am dying every day. You are beating me every day. I am dying every day. You are living only with a ghost. I have died long ago. I died long ago. Right? You are living with a ghost. And Nandu asks, if this is so, why do the Sahabs take a fancy to the ghost? Then why do Sahabs come to meet a ghost? If you are a ghost, if you are not a woman, if you are not alive, why does Mr. Mukherjee come here? Parvati defied his painful blows to say brazenly, because the Mem Sahib is not there. So to make him more angry, angrier, right? So she says, you know why the Sahab comes here? Because the Mem Sahib is not there. Mem Sahib যদি থাকতে সে এটিকে আসে না থাকতে, because Mem Sahib is not there, there is an opportunity. that we can have an illegal relationship, right? That is why he came here. Nandu now firm in his belief that what he was suspecting was true after all. He says, "Oh, ho, so you were discussing dirty things." So that by dirty things he refers to things related to sex. So okay, you were discussing things related to sex. So this is not acceptable. And amused Parvati answers, why dirty things? The Sahab was saying noble things, good things. तो ନନ୍ଦୁ କହିବା କଥା ଯେ ଗୋଟେ ବଡ ସାହାବ ଆସିକି ଗୋଟେ ଛୋଟ କର୍ମଚାରୀର ଘରେ ତା ସ୍ତ୍ରୀ ସାଙ୍ଗେ କଥାବାର୍ତ୍ତା ହଉଛନ୍ତି ଘର ବାହାରେ, ସେ କଣ ତତେ ପ୍ରବଚନ ଶୁଣେଇବାକୁ ଆସିଥିଲେ? ତୋର ତାଙ୍କ ସହିତ କଣ କାମ? ହାଉ ଆର୍ ୟୁ ରିଲେଟେଡ୍ ଟୁ ହିମ୍? Okay, how is he related to you? What were you discussing? What is there to discuss? Right? So Nandu's, Nandu's uh, doubt has grounds. It is not entirely baseless. Nandu's doubt has some ground. It is not entirely baseless. Now, what noble things? Did he ask you to come to the Dak Bungalow tonight? Oh, if you think this is he must have told you, Madam is not there. My wife is not there. Please come to the Dak Bungalow and let us spend some time together. And if you consider this noble, then he was talking something noble. If you consider this noble, he was obviously talking something noble. An angry Parvati shouts, don't you dare to think that everybody is like you. If you repeat what you just said, then now I will leave you. Let the household go to the dogs. So Parvati gets very angry. She says, if you behave like this, if you talk like this, if the limit of your suspicion goes to this extent, so if your limit of your suspicion, your doubt goes to this extent, then I am going to leave you forever. Right? Let whatever happen, I am going to leave you forever. Then, besides, he told him that when he was eavesdropping from behind the tree, what was the need of telling what the Sahab was discussing with her? Then she says, Are, you were hiding behind the tree. You were eavesdropping. Eavesdropping is when two people are discussing things, you listen to it from a distance. Or you hide somewhere and listen to it. So, ତମେ ତ ଚୋରି ଛୁପିକି ଶୁଣୁଥିଲ ସେଠୁ. Right? That is eavesdropping. So, when you were listening to our conversation, what is the need of telling everything to you? Parvati continues, but what amazes me is how you can bear to remain out so long and return home at midnight. Does that encourage an doesn't that encourage an unchaste woman? So Parvati says, if you are so suspicious about me, if you are so suspicious about me, then if you are so suspicious about me, then why should you spend so much time in the office? Why should you come late? If the husband comes home late, if I am an unchaste woman, if I am a type of woman who sells herself, who sells her flesh, or who is interested in other people, and husband comes back home late, will I not take advantage of that situation? Why are you coming home late? Okay, it's your good fortune that you arrived early and you caught me red-handed while I was discussing things with the Sahab. You never know what takes place on the other days. So, do you know what happens on other days? Okay, today you came back and you caught me red-handed. I was talking to the Sahab. What happens on other days? This is a habit with Parvati to make her husband angry. We have also read in other chapters. She makes him angry. Although a chill ran down Nando's spine, he became subdued. He said, do you believe I really suspect you? So Nando becomes a little cool and he says, well, do you believe I suspect you? I'm doubting your character. However, what business has that smartly dressed Sahab to come in his sleek car, beautiful car, and engaged in a prolonged conversation, in a very long conversation with my own wife? Am I wrong in wanting to know what he talked? Wouldn't the very sight of him raise my blood pressure? Okay, so he asks his wife, no, no, I am not doubting your character. I am not doubting you. But please tell me what that Sahib was doing here. He is such a big officer in my office. What was he doing in front of our house? What would others think? What would the people of the area think? How would they take this? And don't I have any right? I am your husband. Doesn't a husband have any right to ask you what he was discussing with you? Isn't it going to raise my blood pressure? My blood pressure will increase or not? When I see such a sight, it will increase my blood pressure or not? Parvati bursts out to a mocking laughter. She laughs. Do you have blood in your veins? I thought it was just water. Huh? How she is making him angry. Nandu spoke philosophically. My dear, because it is water, I am able to stick to the government job so that I may eke out a living by dancing to the boss's tune. I am working there in the office. I lick my boss's boots. Lick my boss's boots? Whatever my boss says, I do. I do that. I obey his orders. I take his orders as the holy words written in scriptures. Right? And I make my living like that. That is how I get my money. I get my food. Right? And at times, the boss's words can make you very angry. But if I become angry, he will throw me out of the job. So we tolerate everything because that is how we buy our food. Had I blood in my veins, then I would have killed a few of my bosses. The way they behave at office, I would have killed a few of my bosses. Parvati spoke mockingly, making fun of him. Had I been in your place, do you think I would have allowed the Sahib to go scot free and stood peeping from behind a tree? Mr. Nandu, my dear husband, you were standing behind that tree while I was talking to your boss. ମୁଁ ଯଦି ତମ ଜାଗାରେ ହେଇଥାନ୍ତି ମୁଁ କେବେ ସେଠି ଛୁପିକିରି ବସିକି ଦେଖୁନଥାନ୍ତି ଯେ ମୋ ସ୍ତ୍ରୀ କାହା ସାଙ୍ଗରେ କଥାବାର୍ତ୍ତା ହଉଛି ଓକେ ଇଫ୍ ଆଇ ୱେର୍ ୟୁ ମୁଁ ଯଦି ହେଇଥାନ୍ତି ଇଫ୍ ଆଇ ୱେର୍ ଦେୟାର ଇନ୍ ୟୋର ପ୍ଲେସ୍ I would have thrown a piece of stone at him to strike the daylight out of him. So I would have certainly hurt him. Nandu asks Parvati not to talk so recklessly. Please don't talk like this. Parvati asks him why I should not talk like this. Nandu replies, how would you know the torture I have to suffer? Huh? The way you are torturing me and how much torture I have to suffer and remain silent. How do you know that? You don't know. Parvati replies ironically that she doesn't feel tortured only because she is not dying of fear for you getting kidnapped or taken over by someone any moment. So Parvati says, you know why you are tortured. You are tortured, you are troubled, you are killed by your doubts only because every moment you think I might be abducted by somebody. कोई मुझे लेके भाग जाएगा. You think my wife may run away with someone? That at this age I will not get another wife to take care of me. So your fear is killing you, Mr. Nandu. Your fear is killing you. Nandu said dejectedly, very sadly, that she can say something of that sort, as she doesn't care for him, as he is old. So he is an old man, and therefore she can talk like this. You should have told me this before you chose to marry me. What can you do now? So if you are so angry with me, so dissatisfied with me, you should have told me. You are telling all this because I am an old man. I am an ugly man. So okay, if you didn't want to get married to me, you should have told me why we got married or before that. No, no, I am not going to because you are old, because you are ugly, I am not going to marry you. You married me. But After a few years of marriage, you are telling I am ugly here, or you are disrespectful to me, you are not behaving properly with me, you have all kinds of relationship with other people. So this is not acceptable. Then to this Parvati responds with, I can do everything. These days, marriage is not considered to be made of iron and stone, as our grandmother thought. Parvati, so he says, what will you do now? Now that we are married for the last 2 3 years or last few years, what can you do now? ଆଉ ତ ମତେ ଛାଡିକି କୁଆଡେ ଯାଇପାରିବୁନି, ଆଉ ତ ତାର possibility ନାହିଁ. So Parvati says, no, no, I can do that. I can do that. I can do whatever I want. Okay. These days marriages are not, the bonds of marriage are not very strong. They are not made of iron. In our grandmother's days, the bonds of marriage were very strong. Once you got married, no matter what your husband did with you, he beat you, he slapped you, he kicked you, you know, you would stick to the marriage. But these days, Mr. Nando, this is not acceptable. I will leave you and go away. Okay. So what in fact he is trying to hint at is that the marriage vows are not sacrosanct anymore. That aguru sabu kahuthile, I will live with you for 7 generations, ସାତ ଜନ୍ମ ପାଇଁ ମୁଁ ତମର ତମେ ମୋର. ଏବେ ବାହା ହେଲା ପରେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଏଇ ଜନ୍ମଟା ଟିକେ ଜଲ୍ଦି ଜଲ୍ଦି ସରିଯାଆନ୍ତାନି. ସାତ ଜନ୍ମ, 7 ages, seven births. This is not acceptable. So long, I can't spend so much time with you. My dear husband, 2 years enough. I have lived with you for 2 years. That is enough. I am not going to stay with you for 7 births. That long I cannot stay with you. Wife says that to husband. Husband, of course, says the same thing. And anyone can break that whenever he or she wants. So marriage vows can be broken. The promises that you take during marriage to remain faithful to each other, to stay with each other, to stick to each other, that can be broken anytime. Nandu asks her if she is planning to break the marriage. Okay. Parvati replies, then who likes to be thrashed every day? You beat me every day. Who wants to be thrashed, beaten every day? Nowadays, no one has to accept anything lying down. Right? There are laws. Nobody has to accept the torture lying down. Lying down means without raising a voice of protest. So you beat me and I tolerate everything without raising a voice of protest. That is not acceptable. These days, these things do not happen. There are laws. So Nandu says, oh, you are consulting the law then. You only see me beating you and nothing else. Right? You only see when I beat you. You don't you don't see how much I love you. Perhaps he hints at that. My love for you. Perhaps that is what you don't see. Nandu pushes aside the plate of puffed rice in anger, expecting sympathy from his wife. He got none, no sympathy, nothing. Because Parvati was also very angry. Who bothers? And he speaks. Now, suppose a small child, suppose falls down, then he starts crying. Why? To draw the sympathy of his mother. That my mother will come and pick me up. But ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେ ଦେଖିବ ଯେ ମା ଫା କେହି ଆସୁନାହାନ୍ତି, there is no sympathy from mother, ସେ ନିଜେ ନିଜେ ଉଠିକି ଛିଡା ହେଇ ପଡିବ. And then there will be an end to his crying. So similarly, ନନ୍ଦୁ ଭାବୁଥିଲା ଯେ ମୁଁ ଯଦି ପ୍ଲେଟ୍ ଟାକୁ ଫୋପାଡ଼ି ଦେବି, ଖାଇବା ପ୍ଲେଟ୍ ଟାକୁ ଯଦି ଏମିତି ଆଡେଇ ଦେବି, ତାହେଲେ perhaps my wife will say, oh no, 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 you have worked so hard during the daytime, throughout the day you have worked so hard in the office, please eat your food, please take your food. But Parvati herself was very angry. Now, when he sees that Parvati is not compassionate, he from his own side says, who bothers for a poor man who eats out every day and comes home for a meal one evening by sheer luck? So I eat most of the time I eat outside. Today I have come back home so that I can have a meal peacefully. But who bothers? Who cares? My wife doesn't care. I am a poor man, and I am so unlucky, so unfortunate that my wife doesn't care for me. He could not expect a couple of chapatis even. क्या करो ମୋ ଭାଗ୍ୟରେ କଣ ଚପାତି ଦିଟା ଅଛି ଦିଟା ରୁଟି ବି ମତେ ତମେ କରିକି ଦେଇପାରିବନି there is surplus rice in the house so throw it at him ଯେମିତି କୁକୁରଙ୍କୁ ଖାଇବାକୁ ଦିଅନ୍ତି ଦେଇଦିଅ ଭାତ ତ ପଖାଳ ଭାତ ଅଛି ଦେଇଦିଅ so you don't take care of me such is his luck. Parvati pushes the plate of popped rice towards him and says, when I asked you about chapatis you didn't answer. Will the chapatis drop from the sky? When I asked you what would you eat, chapatis or rice, you remained silent. Where from I will get chapatis now? So there is rice, eat it. Wouldn't it take a little time to prepare this? So, so basically this chapter is about uh, Parvati asserting her rights that I am not going to lie down and tolerate everything, accept everything, the torture that is inflicted on me, that you inflict on me, I am definitely going to protest. And there is also an element of doubt in the mind of, and doubt that has roots, doubt that is genuine. So if a big officer comes to your house and talks to your wife in your absence, then obviously the husband would be doubtful. So he becomes stout. So this is where chapter 10 ends. We shall go to chapter 11 in the next video. Thank you very much.